Cornelius Holden, Big Corn as they call you. Welcome to the Players Perspective Uncensored podcast, my man. It's honored to be talking to a legend. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to come through and talk to us, man.
It's an honor to be on here, and thanks for having me.
For sure, for sure. Now, obviously, going to school in Kentucky at the University of Louisville, bourbon's a big thing in Kentucky. So have you ever got a chance to try any bourbon? If so, what were some of your favorites or some of the ones that you liked?
Well, I would say from my teammate James Brewer being from Bardstown, that's pretty much a lot of the discussions he used to have. But I would say as I've gotten older with some of the reunions that we've had there in Louisville, pretty much, I don't know, Jack Daniels.
Okay.
But I'm more of a wine drinker, but what's more Jack? I like Jack Daniels.
Got you. Okay. Now let's dive into the basketball part of the podcast a little bit. Who was somebody that inspired you when you were younger? Who was somebody that you looked up to that you may have wanted to imitate your game after when you were coming up as a youngster?
I think a lot of people don't know, but before high school, I played point guard my whole life. And pretty much growing up in LA, everyone loved Magic Johnson. So I would say up until, I don't know, the 10th grade, I loved Magic Johnson, but in the 10th grade, I grew like 7 inches. Then all of a sudden, I started liking Dominique Wilkins more. I started jumping higher and I started dunking a lot more, but I really like Magic Johnson, but it grew more towards Dominique Wilkins in high school.
Nice. Now, you were sensational high school player. You one of the best players in the country coming up. What made you choose the University of Louisville?
I think growing up in California, just so much going on in California. And I had a chance to meet Coach Houston in Vegas when I was in high school, and I saw Allen Houston play. And I somewhat had a little bond right there. I felt a connection to Coach Houston. I mean, I had the Pac-12 schools recruiting me, UCLA, USC, Arizona. But I think the connection that I've had with Coach Houston, that was big. And I just wanted to get out of California also.
Great guy. We had him on a few episodes back, man. Great conversations. So you played from 1988 to 1992, and some of the younger kids that may be listening to this may have not got a chance to watch you play or may not have seen your highlights on YouTube. What's the best way that you would describe your game?
I'd say the best way I would say I was a team player. I tried to do whatever it took to win. I was considered a small forward, power forward center. Pretty much Coach Crum just used me in any way possible to help the team. I mean, I played a lot of center. I played a lot of power forward. And every once in a while, he put me a small forward. But I would say my game was more of a smaller guy that played big.
I tell you what, from what I remember when I was a youngster, man, I think a lot of kids now, they remember like a Montrezl Harrell, but you were like the Montrezl Harrell before Montrezl Harrell. But I would say you were more explosive than Montrezl. And the reason I say that is Montrezl, you were both great dunkers, both sensational athletes. But Montrezl Harrell wasn't the shot blocker that you were. Montrezl Harrell's going to step in there and take a charge, but you were going to get it. Top of the backboard. If a guy didn't come in there and dunk it, it was getting rejected, man. So that's what I remember. I remember being, like you said, a great player that does anything for the team, but I just remember your explosive leaping ability, man, defensively, dunking the ball, anything around the basket, and that short baseline jump shot, man. It was the things that really stuck out to me when I think back watching you when I was a youngster.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I had fun.
For sure. Now, you played with a lot of great athletes. You played with the Bradford Smiths, the Eric Sullivans. By the way, you and Eric Sullivan probably set the standard for like box haircuts. You guys had the smoothest box haircuts back in the day. Played with a lot of great athletes. And, I could go on and name a list of them. Who was, besides yourself, who was probably the best athlete that you played with?
Whoa. Can you repeat that? You went out real quick. Can you repeat that?
Okay. I don't know why I said my internet thing's unstable. Okay. I said during your time, you played with a lot of great athletes. a lot
Yes.
of sensational athletes. Play with your LeBron Smiths, your Eric Sullivans, your Derwin Webbs, a ton of you guys continued that legacy of doctors of dunks. Besides
Yes.
yourself, who would you say is probably the best athlete that you played with?
Wow, that's a tough one because I think our entire group of guys, from Everett to LeBradford to Derwin, Jerome Harmon.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We had some exciting practices. Believe me, if you came to practice, I mean, there was a lot of guys getting dunked on. And we had fun with each other. But I just can't say one athlete because Louisville was full of great athletes, and I think that was part of the reason we were there.
Yeah, and great group of guys too. All the guys that I've got a chance to build a great relationship with during that era. Eric Sullivan's been a great mentor to me. LeBradford Smith was a great mentor for me when I first got to U of L. Really took me in the gym, kind of showed me how to play in the mid-range game. Jerome Harmon, who I see around the city, great bunch of guys. Not only great players, but great guys at that. So,
Yes.
so when you were going to the University of Louisville, talk to me about some adversity that you might have faced and some of the adjustments that you had to make when you started playing at the collegiate level.
I would say the toughest thing for me was, first of all, was leaving California. I wanted to get away, but once I was away, I was homesick. And I'm pretty sure maybe a lot of people remembers that I was only in Louisville, maybe, I don't know, a couple of months. And my mother surprisingly passed away. I mean, I had no idea, my mother was sick in any type of way, but that was something that I came back home for a couple of weeks, and I was really contemplating going back to University of Louisville. But I spoke to a lot of my friends, and they just said, you know what, go enjoy college. Your mother's watching you from above. So pretty much my career at Louisville was more of, playing for a lot of my friends here in California, but, particularly my mother, because I knew she was looking at me from above. I was only 17 years old when I went to Louisville.
Yeah.
But since then, hey, I made a great decision because, those have to be the best fans in the world right there in, the city of Louisville, Kentucky.
Facts. Now, you played for the legendary Hall of Fame coach, Denny Crum. What were some of the main principles and things that you took away from playing for him for 4 years?
Oh, as you know, Coach Crum was big on fundamentals. Playing off 2 feet, making the right decisions, playing with effort, pretty much playing as a team, because I think one thing in Louisville is that you never really had big scores at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was always balanced scoring. We had an offense where, the use of the high post offense where it was pretty much about making reads. So you had to have some type of IQ to play within that offense. So we never had really big time scores, but more than anything, Coach Crum taught me how to play well with other teammates while enjoying your role. So that was big for me.
Now, talk about the famous bank shot. Everybody that plays for Coach Crum always talks about his requirement if you're at the proper angle to shoot the bank shot.
Oh, that really stands out because believe it or not, I've had a chance to sit down with Coach Wooden before he passed away, and Coach Crum was assistant under John Wooden.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to just pick his brain on that also. He just said that he just always felt it was a game of percentages where if you were at a certain position on the court, your percentage would definitely raise if you use the back, would definitely raise if you use that backboard. So Coach Crum was always talking about percentages. And I think when you're younger, you don't really realize that. But as you get older, you get used to making shots and taking shots that you can make more than missing them. So when you get in that certain angle, Coach Crum will definitely remind you, hey, Corn, put that ball on the glass.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you graduated from the University of Louisville, you went on to pursue a professional basketball career. Talk to us about your professional career once you left the University of Louisville.
Well, it didn't start off. It didn't start off as I expected because I was trying out with the Seattle Supersonics, and at that time I thought I was going to make the team, but the doctors at that time said I had, I don't know, like a heart issue. And at that time, I don't know if you remember a guy called Hank Gathers.
Mm.
Hank Hank Gathers had passed away because of a heart problem. So actually, my first year out of college, I just sat out a year just to kind of monitor my heart to see what was going on, you know. And I was worried, but it was more of control of my blood pressure, my eating habits, and different things. And then after that, I went to play my first year in Turkey. And luckily, my first year in Turkey, I was able to play with another guy I knew from LA named Kahari Jackson, played at University of Mexico. And it was a great experience. I played my first 2 years in Turkey. And from there, I believe I went to, I played in so many countries. I went from Argentina. You know, I had a chance to play against Ginobili and, you know, Nocioni, a lot of different guys. And after that, I played in Spain. And then after that, I played in Brazil a few years. But I've made a few stops in multiple countries. But one thing I was able to do overseas was I think I was able to get back to being a guy I was like in elementary school, middle school, where I wasn't really locked into a certain position. It was more of just winning basketball games. You know, you go out there and play, and I think a lot of people felt, okay, Corn's only a center.
Right.
But overseas, I had a career high 1 game of 9 threes made. You know, it was more of just getting my confidence back to do a lot of the things I was able to do before I grew 7 inches.
Right.
But it was a great experience overseas.
Man, I can relate. I got a chance to play in Argentina a few years. I played a few games in Turkey. I didn't get to play in the Turkish league. I played all across Europe. And man, one thing that I took away from it was it just broadened my horizons to be able to learn new cultures, meet new people, you know, attempt to learn new languages, try new foods. It just put you in a different environment to where you weren't just locked into the American way. And then it just made me that much more appreciative once I came back home. And I can only imagine for you, because when I was there, when I first started, you didn't really, you know, you had cell phones that could reach overseas, but it was super expensive. It's not like now to where, you know, you can just make a phone call to China just like you're making a phone call across the street. But, you know, the internet had just really started booming there. It was there, but it, you know, access was limited. Now it's just Wi-Fi everywhere. So how were you really able to cope back then where it really wasn't any internet and wasn't a lot of phone service, man? That had to be really tough.
I think the one thing that helped me out in Turkey was that unlike a lot of other countries, that the city of Istanbul had like 12 professional teams in Istanbul, and the other teams were outside of Istanbul. So we had a good chance, let's say, you know, get a chance for lunch or dinner. I was able to meet up with a lot of other Americans. We used to just sit around and just talk basketball.
Right.
You know, and I think back to one of my friends, Lester Neal. I know I used to have to monitor him coming over using my phone. You know, he love to sneak and pick up my phone. I said, "Where you calling, Les?" And he used to try to call Chicago on my phone. But we had a great bond. But you know, you had a lot of Americans in one city in Istanbul, and I think that was a great start to my career because I was able to interact with multiple other Americans just in one city.
Nice. Now, once you finished up playing, you pursued a career in coaching. Now, did you always know you wanted to be a coach even while you were playing, or, you know, before you started playing professionally? Is it something that you knew all your life, or what made you want to get into the coaching profession?
Well, I think whenever I played pickup basketball, I always wanted to win in pickup.
Right.
And guys you know, because I know if you lost the game, you had a long wait. You know, it might be an hour wait, hour and a half wait.
Right.
And guys on my team would always say, "Corn, stop coaching me. I don't need you telling me everything." You know, I said, I'm not trying to wait. So I was always on the floor trying to explain to guys what we need to do to win, because I'm not trying to go there on the sideline. And the more I start figuring out different things on the court, we was able to win 6 or 7 games in a row, let's say during the pickup game. I start trying that philosophy with little kids, you know, I started up a little AAU program out here. I had a little program called the Jammers, where some of those guys started at like 4 or 5 years old. And, you know, some of those guys are in college now. So once I knew I was able to coach little kids, that's when I brought it to the high school level. And I started out at a school called Chaminade. My second year there, we won the state championship. And then after being there for 6 or 7 years, I went to another school called Brentwood Academy out here, where we actually won 2 CIF championships the second year I was there, the second and third years I was there. So one thing I'm pretty sure it's yourself. The more you play basketball, I think there's a lot of things you love that the coach tell you and some things you don't like. And I always said to myself, I'm going to use 50 to 75% of the things that I learned from my previous coaches, and I'm going to put 25% in of my own coaching. Because I know the different ups and downs you go through as a player. And one thing I know, I always try to make sure my players play with confidence.
Right, right. Now, you just said that, you want to make sure your kids play with confidence, but what's the biggest things from your playing experience that you really pour into your kids?
Well, I say for my playing experience is that no question you have to buy into the team concept because you definitely want to win games. You definitely want to win. And as you know, it's your experiences. I mean, you're going to have some good days and you're going to have some bad days when you play sports. So I just try to explain to the kids that, hey, you have to prepare a certain way. And if you prepare a certain way, I always feel that it will always show on the court. So you'll get the results if you prepare. Because I remember one thing that Coach Crum used to mention, even John Wooden said, was that, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So I'm big on getting the kids to prepare a certain way if they want to see the results.
Also, another question that I have with coaching is, what is something that you get, because all the kids want to start, particularly at a young age, a lot of kids don't understand that, it's not really who starts the game. The most important part is I want to be on the court when the game's on the line, when the game is finishing. A lot of kids don't grasp or understand that early. So what's a motivational tactic that you use for the players that are on the bench to keep them motivated, even though they're not starting?
One, I would say something I love doing is that I played at Crenshaw High School out here. You probably don't know, even I played for a legendary high school coach in Willie West. He won 8 state championships. And one thing Coach West did with us is that we probably played 12 deep. Coach West played at least 10 guys every game. Mm-hmm. So one thing what I would always try to do with my guys is that you might not play one game, but I rarely go 2 games without a guy not playing. I'm going to make sure that you stay ready. And if you know that you're going to play every other game, believe me, those guys on the bench, they will stay ready because you never know when your number's going to be called. And when your number's called, either you can take those 3 minutes and turn it into 10 minutes, or you can go down to 1 minute. So it's all about staying ready over there.
Right. Bitcoin, now we reached the part of the podcast we call our barrel-proof segment, man. That's where we're going to ask you some rapid-fire questions. We don't want you to give it a lot of thought. Give us your first answer. We're going to roll with it.
Okay.
First question. Who is the best trash talker that you played with?
Eric Sullivan.
I can see that.
Well, Eric was, he didn't talk a lot of trash, but, Eric was a very confident individual out there. He showed it in practice. Eric's dunked on me. I've dunked on him, but no, Eric had a swag about himself that he carried over to his game.
Facts. That's big facts. Advice that you received that was the most rewarding to you?
Wow. At University of Louisville, I mean, I think it comes down to that question, that I would say with Coach Houston. Coach Houston just told me, just give it your best all the time. If you give it your all in practice and everything that you do, you'll definitely be rewarded in the end. I mean, Coach Houston told me that the one year he was there, because after that he had left and went to Tennessee because he got the head coaching job at Tennessee. But Coach Houston, he always told me, you're away from home, but play your hardest, do your best, and live with the results.
Right. Toughest person you ever had to guard?
Whoa, that's a tough one. I mean, I had to guard Larry Johnson. I mean, I had to guard Clarence Weatherspoon, but no question it was Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, we actually beat LSU at LSU, and I had to guard Shaq most of the game. I mean, I looked like an ant out there next to him, but we won the game.
Ooh, I remember Clarence Weatherspoon at Southern Miss too, man.
Huh?
I said I remember Clarence Weatherspoon at Southern Miss too, boy. He was an animal.
Yes.
And that rolls into the next question. Who wins, Chris Webber's Fab Five or Larry Johnson's Running Rebels?
Oh, that's a tough one. but I'll say the Running Rebels. I mean,
I'm
that was one of the schools I was considering before I went to Louisville, but I don't know. I always liked Tarkanian as a coach, you know, and I also like Larry Fisher at Michigan. But I don't know, that pressure defense that Tarkanian played with, that was a tough defense to play against. I mean, them guys are after you, and they got us still. They were down the court dunking all day.
My dad took me to that game too when they came and played in Freedom Hall, man. I remember that.
Yeah, that Running Rebels team is tough.
Better rapper, Nas or Eminem?
Oh, wow. That's another tough one. I'm going to say I grew up a Nas fan, but I think I've seen Eminem out here in LA, and I've seen him freestyle. I don't know. He's rare. I mean, he's different. I mean, but I like both of them. I can't pick one.
Yeah,
that's have their styles.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I can't even sit here and say who I would go with, man. That's tough. That's tough.
Styles.
If you had your choice of being able to dunk on one person, who would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one too. I don't know. We lost it. I remember losing to Illinois my freshman year. I think we was in the Elite Eight on the way to the Elite Eight game. I would think it was more the freshman Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson.
that was a memorable loss. I mean, we had a great team with Felton, Purvis, you know, Kenny Payne, Tony Kimbrough, and I mean, I thought we were a national championship team, and but I think Nick Anderson. I mean, that's just off the top of the head. That was a tough loss for me.
Yeah. Now, this is a question that we call franchise, sign, and waive. You got to franchise a guy that you're going to build your team around. You got to sign a guy that you're going to keep on your team. You got to waive a guy. And we're going to go know your role players edition. Okay. So you got your options are Tristan Thompson, PJ Tucker, Andre Iguodala. You got to franchise a role player. You got to sign a role player. You got to waive one. Okay. PJ Tucker, Tristan Thompson, Andre Iguodala.
I'm gonna sign PJ Tucker.
You're gonna sign PJ Tucker, okay?
I'm gonna sign PJ Tucker because I think most people are familiar with him right now. I'm gonna. What did you say? What's the next one? Franchise? You said French?
You got to build your team around one. Franchise, either Tristan Thompson or Andre Iguodala.
I'm a franchise Andre Iguodala because he's was he a 3-time champion or 2-time champion? 3-time champion?
3, yeah.
I'm gonna say a 3-time champion. And Tristan Thompson, I don't know. I like Tristan Thompson. So what do I do with him? You tell me. I like all three. I mean, it's not like I'm saying anything bad about Tristan Thompson. I like
for sure, but somebody got to get waived though.
Hey, I'm waiving Tristan Thompson.
I can't disagree with you. I think I would roll with the same thing. 2020 bubble champions will be
the Lakers. Believe it or not, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, I want it to be the Clippers, but I think it would be the Lakers. You know, because I've known Paul George and Kawhi and them guys when they were younger guys, you know, being here in LA. But I don't know if they have the experience to take out the Lakers. I mean, ultimately, I think LeBron will get the calls late. So I'm rooting for either LA team. I want the Clippers, but I think it'll be the Lakers.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. LeBron got to make them free throws late if he's going to get the calls, though.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to give him the calls.
He got to make the free throw. But the great thing about the bubble, man, is that it's a great neutralizer, man. You see Milwaukee, you know, I don't know if they just wasn't in it because, you know, the whole injustices or the whole restart up, they just didn't seem like they were themselves. But the bubble has been a neutralizer, man. With no home court, you really see who the better team is.
That's something that I've definitely been noticing too. You just go out there and play and you don't get that boost from the crowd and, you know, there's no traveling because I think a lot of time the travel affect a lot of those guys also.
Yeah.
But just to get it, you know, just to play every other day with no fans pushing you, well, it just shows you a lot. You definitely say you had the right word. It's a neutralizer.
Right. Last question. How would you define success?
I think success is different for everyone. I think success is all about what have you done and what makes you happy, because I think success is lies within you. You know, some people think having the most money in the world. I mean, I would love to be. No, I'm glad I'm healthy. I want to remain healthy. I think success is being happy with yourself and happy with those around you, and everyone look at you in a certain way where you don't rub anyone the wrong way and you're loved by all.
Big Corn, way to close out the podcast. Man, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to come through and talk to us, man. Wish you nothing but the best going forward in coaching. And like I said, it's been a pleasure to catch up with a legend.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Larry, and I'll make sure the next time. Where are you staying at now? Are you in Louisville?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, you in Atlanta. Okay, well, I'll make sure the next time we have our reunion in Louisville, we'll figure out a way to try to get you down and hang out with us. You know,
Hey,
because
for sure, for sure, for sure.
I've watched you from afar, and I appreciate you having me on.
Already, man. Appreciate you. Talk to you later.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yep.